Oh.
It's 1:30. The September 19th meeting of the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission is called to order. Jim Witcher.
Present, sir.
Dan Martin. Here. Walter Kula.
Here, sir.
Barry Ward. I'm sorry. Hale. Barry Hale.
Here.
James Schuline.
Here.
Amon Jenkins.
Here.
John May.
Here.
Milford J. Clayton. Milford, we'd like to open the meeting with prayer.
Let us bow our heads in the attitude of prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We thank you for the opportunity of allowing us to assemble here this afternoon to do the people's business. We hope and pray that it will meet with thy divine approval. We pray that everything that we do here this afternoon, that you will be in accord with us. So we say to you, we love you, we honor you, and we praise you, and thanks for the opportunity. Then we are going to end this conversation with 5 little words. Let thy will be done. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. For those of you who have not met Mr. Hale, he is the new appointee from Ward 5.
Wow.
No. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the August 15th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Clayton, seconded by Commissioner May, to approve the minutes from the August 15th meeting. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? The minutes are approved. Item number 3 is the report on licensed taxi and wrecker services. This is a quarterly report and will be presented at the October meeting. Item number 4 is the consent docket. Is there anyone wishing to speak against an item on the consent docket? Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Martin, to approve the consent docket. Further discussion? If not, could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Thank you. The first item for individual consideration is 5A. The applicant is a Different Limousine, LLC, 11621 North Santa Fe Avenue, Suite Baker 12, Oklahoma City. The request is to consider an application from a Different Limousine, LLC for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate 5 vehicles in limousine service. Mr. Matthews? If you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Stanley Matthews, and address is 11621 North Santa Fe, Suite B12, Oklahoma City, 73114.
Could I have staff's summary of this item, please?
Staff comments are before you. Different Limousine Company is asking for permits to operate 5 vehicles in limousine service. Staff recommends approval of the application for a certificate of public conveyance and necessity as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application as stated in 5A.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula and with a second by Commissioner Jenkins to approve 5A. Is there any further discussion? If not, could I have your votes, please? Item 5A is approved unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, members.
If there's anyone wishing to speak before the commission, if you'd see Cherry and fill out one of these blue forms if you've not already done so. Item 5B, the applicant is Legacy Limousine, LLC, 2600 Tahoe Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma. The request is to consider an application from Legacy Limousine, LLC, for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate 5 vehicles in limo service. John Michael Coffer. Is it Coffer or Caffer?
Kofer.
Coffer.
Kofer, Coffer, doesn't make a difference.
Thank you. If you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
John Michael Kofer, my address 2600 Tahoe Drive in Edmond, Oklahoma, 73013.
Is there anything you wish to add?
Unless you need something answered.
Okay. Could I have staff summary, please?
Staff report is before you. Legacy Limousine is asking for permits to operate 5 vehicles in limo service. Staff recommends approval of the application for a certificate of public conveyance and necessity as presented.
Do I have a motion?
I'd like to ask the applicant a question. If I may, or do you do the motions first?
If we could have a motion, and then we'll have further discussion, if we have a second.
Motion to approve, then.
I have a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins, for approval of 5B. Further discussion?
The question I had is that it's supposed to be 5 vehicles. The previous applicant listed the 5 vehicles. I don't see them listed on the application. Do you have 5 vehicles?
I just have the one where I filed. They recommended having room for expansion. So I kind of did what they told me to do. I just have one limousine.
So we do have an obligation to have 5, don't we, on these? No? Just the cabs? Okay. Well, thank you. Because I was looking at, in the reads here, to operate 5 vehicles in limousine service, and I only found the one listed, so that's an error the way it's listed?
No, sir. I would assume that he has his one, and this allows for growth for another 4 as he expands. For taxis, we've required that they have 5 to start, so they can have that 24/7 on-call operation.
Exactly.
So as far as limos are concerned, they could...
Okay, so operate up to 5,
Right.
but you don't have 5 currently?
Not right now, no, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? I have a motion to approve 5B by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carver. Item 5C, the applicant is Randall Entz, Planning Department, Oklahoma City. This is in reference to Municipal Code 32-1 and 32-479. Consider a request from the Planning Department to designate the roadways contained within the 2008 Bicycle Transportation Plan as bicycle routes. Routes? What part of the country are you from? Paula Yalkel. You'd state your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Paula Yackel. I live at 10929 East Hefner Road. It's a Jones P.O. Box, zip code 73049, but I do reside in Oklahoma City proper.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I appreciate you welcoming me and my remarks on this item. I just turned 42, and so I had to get glasses at the same time. I'm a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen. My first and foremost responsibility as a mommy to the most precious 2-year-old son in the world. I am a wife to my son, who is a cyclist. I myself have logged several hundred miles around Lake Hefner on my bike. We live on East Hefner Road, and Hefner Road has become a significant route for cyclist activity. On the morning of August 22nd, less than a mile from my home, I had to launch my car into the ditch with my son with me to avoid a disastrous head-on collision because of a reckless, irresponsible motorist who was passing 2 cyclists on a hill. It's pretty shocking. Once I got to my destination, I called Mr. Chai, and he and I had a nice visit, and I so appreciate the manner in which you have embraced my input. You have been most generous, and I appreciate you. We have a very complex and dangerous situation that I must make you aware of. If you don't live out in northeast county roads, this might be new information to you. And after writing my letter to Mr. Chai, when he welcomed my written correspondence, I have discovered that the situation is a little more shocking than I realized, and I'm going to let you know how I found that out as well. For the safety of the cyclists, the motorists, the horseback riders, and they're there, and the pedestrians, the joggers, the kids who are on Hefner Road, I want to accomplish 3 quick things with you today. Number 1, I want to make you aware, as much as I am, of the condition that we have. Number 2, I'd like to ask your commitment to help me get some things done and for a quick, meaningful remedy. Number 3, I actually have some ideas for you and some recommendations. I don't want to come asking things of you without offering some suggestions on how we can get started. But if you'll indulge me a quick moment, I want to give you a list of variables that I believe are contributing to our condition out there. We have hilly terrain with short visibility, 2-lane county roads with uneven surfaces and no shoulders, vegetation growing into the roadway, narrowing the lanes, heavy presence of Class A vehicles due to local industry. That's sludge trucks, sand trucks, dump trucks, 18-wheelers, farm equipment on very wide trailers. We have motorists running stop signs at an all-time shocking rate. We have cyclists running stop signs at an all-time shocking rate. We have motorists passing on hills, as I so encountered myself. Cyclists are not riding to the far right because our road conditions actually make it difficult for them to ride to the far right. So when they are 2 abreast and they can't get to the far right, it puts them in the center of the road. That's on a hill. That's even across the center line. Cyclists are also riding more than 2 abreast. They fail to make adjustments when motorists approach, and I'm not placing blame there. I'm just citing what I've observed. And I tell you, that is a huge frustration for the motorists in our area. Motorists and the big trucks are driving at excessive speeds, and I'm not an expert. I'm a mommy, and I've been a hardworking citizen, but I don't know traffic like you guys do. But what I would say is we have stop signs at every other mile juncture, and I think it feels like an open roadway there, and people go 70, 80 miles an hour, including the big trucks. Hefner Road cycling activity has become what I call a fitness trail. We have unskilled cyclists, those who don't wear helmets. We have recumbent bicycles. We have girls in beachwear, and they're not wearing helmets. They are inviting trouble. I had to escort, I would say he was 4 years old and 10 years old. I had to escort 2 brothers off Hefner Road the other day with puppies following along. They were right at the base of the river bridge, and you know how curved that is. They would have been annihilated by a sand truck. I lost a little sleep over that one. The mommy didn't know they had gone a half a mile from home, but that's a parenting situation there. The cyclists are using the full lane, and it is impeding the normal flow of traffic, frustrating to motorists like you cannot believe. And I just want to share that with you.
Ms. Yalko?
Yes.
You have 2 minutes remaining.
Got it.
Thank you.
There's no signage to motorists about cyclist rights. There's no signage to cyclists about their duties. I could go on and on about that, but I want to briefly tell you how I got to the conclusion that the summary of all that is there is significant hostility from motorists to cyclists and from cyclists to motorists. Let me tell you what I did. I thought it would be valuable to myself and to you if I went and got a little more educated with what folks around me thought. So I hit the streets. Over the last 3 days, I visited with 47 people, and I have signatures. I asked them to sign a petition if they had experienced and observed the same unsafe situations I have. And I've got that petition ready to present to you. These are a few of the remarks I heard. I've almost hit a cyclist. That's by over half the people I talked to. A cyclist punched my car as they went around me at the stop sign. A buddy of mine had an altercation with the cyclist, and he ended up punching the guy. The cyclist kicked my car door while I was stopped at the stop sign because he didn't think I gave him enough passing room. You should be asking everyone that you're talking to donate so you can get legal counsel to actually get something done about this. I'd give you $100 right now if you were asking. I want them off the road. I haven't had much issue with this. It's a little unsafe, but they don't give me any problem. It's reached a point where something has to be done. The cyclist gave me a rude gesture. If just one of them would stop at a stop sign, I'd shake their hand. I encountered some cyclists when I made my visits. I've had bottles thrown at me, but they were just kids. I don't care if it's kids. Cyclists should not have bottles being launched at them. Cars and sand trucks pass fast and give me very little room. I had a crash when I hit some debris. I've almost been hit by a car that's running a stop sign. Others have remarked to me that I'm wasting my time in addressing you because there is no solution to this matter. Some told me I should be very cautious because some may view my concerns as a threat, and it's not. Others said there's no solution to this that doesn't take money and you'll never get money. And I tell you, I do not subscribe to the no solution mindset. There are solutions, and I have a packet. I knew I wouldn't have time, but I have a packet prepared for you of 12 solutions that I would recommend to you. 11 are very low cost and can be implemented quickly, and I have that ready to go with you with my petition. In conclusion, I would say, how many more cyclist memorials are going to be in our ditches before somebody takes action to give the cyclists a safer road? And is there going to have to be a head-on collision like my son and I narrowly missed before this hit somebody's radar? And I'm not hostile at you. I'm a little bit passionate about a safe road for my son, for the cyclists, for myself, and Mr. Ince, who's leading the use of full lane initiative. I'm in no way trying to be disrespectful to the use of full lane initiative. I want them to have safe and successful results. I just hope that this information can be valuable to them. Some of the folks who signed my petition would be glad to join a focus group. They've offered up help. However we can help, we will get behind this and meet with the cyclists. So, lastly, I didn't want to come to you and ask for help without offering suggestions. I don't know the proper route of distributing this to you. It's just a one-pager with my suggestions. So if you could advise me on how you'd like to handle that. But I've got to go back to the folks who signed my petition and give them an answer to this question. And I also owe it to my son for his entire life to look out for his safety. And I want to know if I have your commitment to explore, work with us, do whatever it takes to make not just East Hefner Road, but those Northeast County roads where the cyclists are very heavy in rates of cycling out there, if I have your commitment to helping us get to a safer road.
Thank you, Ms. Jalpa. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? If not, I'd ask for staff summary, please.
This item originally appeared on the July 18th, 2011 Transportation and Traffic Commission meeting agenda when the commission decided to send this to a subcommittee. Subcommittee met on August 3rd, 2011 to review the task of designating roadways as bike routes in accordance with municipal code. After the August meeting, the subcommittee chair, Walt Kula, presented the recommendations from the subcommittee. Recommendations were the signing of bike routes will be subject to review and approval of the traffic management and police departments working with the planning department. The second recommendation was the Traffic and Transportation Commission should hear appeals relative to bike routes signing. Subsequent appeals of the Commission's action would be heard by the City Council. You heard our letter from Ms. Yockel. Signing of bike routes will be subject to the review and approval of the traffic management. The ordinance currently says that any route identified as a bike route would be designated for full lane use bicycles, and that confers the rights on the bicycle operators to use full traffic lanes. According to the MUTCD, the intended use and application of bicycles may use full lane sign R4-11 is to inform road users that bicyclists might occupy the travel lane. The sign is intended to be used as a warning sign to alert motorists to the presence of bicycle operators and bicycle operators that they may occupy the full lane in accordance with state law. It's also important to note that Oklahoma City ordinances and current Oklahoma statutes do not allow for bike riders to ride more than 2 abreast. The Oklahoma City Municipal Code states persons riding bicycles upon a roadway shall not ride more than 2 abreast except on bike paths or parts of roadways set aside for the exclusive use of bicycles, such as a bike lane. Staff recommends approval of the request, subject to the subcommittee's recommendations. If approved, subject to the recommendations of the Special Bicycle Route Subcommittee, staff notes that all roadways where bicycle lanes are constructed will be signed using bike lane signs and will not be signed as bicycle routes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for 5C?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 5C, subject to the subcommittee's recommendations as just stated.
Mr. Chairman, second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Schuline to approve 5C. Further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to just summarize real quick some of the talks since 2008 when this first came apart. One of the things that we found out was bikes have a right to be on the roads. As it currently is, they have the right. By establishing bike routes, we establish, well, by having the bike plan, first of all, by having the city council approve the bike plan, it gives city planners the basic framework so when there's road construction money around to create bike lanes, help out with some shoulder work, et cetera. Based off of that product, now we're going to do the bike routes, which is a recommendation from the city to all the people out there to say, if you're going to go from point A to point B, this is probably the best way for you to go. And by establishing the bike route means now that that bike operator can take the full lane of traffic if they have to. And so those are the biggest things. To go with your points, we agree, I believe, as the whole traffic commission agrees with you that we want safe roadways, which includes motor vehicles, human-powered vehicles, horses, and bicycles. And by establishing these bike routes, we're identifying by signage that the bikes will be using this road, and where appropriate, we're even going to signage and say that they can take a full lane of traffic if it's appropriate. But because of the bike plan, as the planners change roadways and upgrade roadways, if it's in the bike plan, which is a bike route, then they will take bicycle operation and expand the road and make a bike lane as appropriate, et cetera. So I hope that what we are going to do here, if it's approved, will work on the issues that you're talking about. So I would think that we are trying to work on these items that you brought up. Thank you.
Further discussion, questions, comments?
I'd like to make note to, is it Paula Yockel? Yockel. You had a very good letter, very concise. I used to teach in the university for 7 years. I give you an A+ on it. It's very detailed and informative about the subject matter and the pieces. this piece you just handed us starts out with improve safety for East Hefner Road and ends up with, and the last thing, a safer route of travel, safety. And I believe what we have in front of us today and considering today is codifying a lot of information that should make our streets safer for everybody. And I'd like to suggest that we provide the city council members with your recommendation along with ours so they can see the things you're saying, the things that we're trying to get accomplished on this. Because it is very important that we share the road safely, and that in process, that means for everybody, whatever mode they're in, from automobile to bicycle or whatever. And I've had experience with issues on the road between myself as a runner and bicycle and automobile, all three. And one of the problems we have in Oklahoma City is that there is not a requirement for sidewalks. And when you take the sidewalk away, then you're putting everybody on the street, unfortunately. And so now there is a requirement for sidewalks, new developments, but the other developments that were grandfathered are still putting in developments without sidewalks, which I disagree with, personally. I think a sidewalk is part of a neighborhood. But the fact of the matter is, when you got that many folks sharing the road, there has to be consideration for all of them. And I think your safety concerns are really, I just scanned them, but they covered a whole lot of material that are important to not only the bicyclists, but also the general public. And the only suggestion, I'm going to move to another part there, so I thank you for your time and your effort and your input. The other thing I was going to mention in this report, which I think to me it's important, that whatever we do with this, there's a lot of discussion about letting bicyclists know what's going on. I want the whole general public to know what's going on, because if you're going to share a road, everybody needs to share the same information of what the rights are and where these bicycle paths are, because as I mentioned last month, if I can, I'm probably not going to take a road that has a bicycle path. I'm going to go on another road someplace because it's easier to traverse most of the time. And so the communications needs to go out to everybody, not just the bicyclists. That this is what's happening and here's why. And oh, by the way, folks, we share the road with each other. Period. Thank you.
I'd ask that Randy come forward, please. This is Randy Ince. If there are any other questions that you would like to direct, and if there aren't, I'd like to give you the opportunity to explain some of the things that Commissioner May had just mentioned with regards to educating not only the cyclists, but the drivers in Oklahoma City.
In 2008, we got an enhancement grant from the...
Randy, I'm sorry, if you'll state your name and address.
I'm Randall Ince with the Planning Department.
Thank you.
We got an enhancement grant from ODOT, and a piece of that is a bicycle education. It says bicycle education, but it's education for everybody. We're putting together that program now. One of the things we'll do with this when we start putting out the bike route signs is we'll do a press release and a press event, and we'll get the word out to all the press outlets. We'll probably do something as far as we can in-house on Channel 20 and things of that nature. We're also working with other people in the community to see if we can get the message out a little broader. The bicycle community is pretty easy to reach. I can go to the bicycle clubs and things of that nature. The driving community, it's a much broader community. So we'll get the word out as best we can. It's very expensive to do PSAs and get them out on the network. They don't necessarily have to give you free time on the air anymore. So we'll do the best we can, and we'll get the word out as widespread as we can. So, be happy to answer any other questions.
One of the things that we as the Traffic Commission did when we approved the electronic message board that we sent on to the City Council for approval was ask that PSAs and things like that be made available. They will do amber alerts, silver alerts, and things like that if we get them to them. I would like to see if we can't get the electronic message board community on board with this. The State Fair of Oklahoma's got a huge message board that we get a lot of comments on. That might be another
We'll
place.
definitely look into that. Thank you for making me aware of that.
So that we can get the word out to the motoring public. Like you said, the bicycling public or cyclists are a lot easier to reach. Any other comments or questions? Further discussion? I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Schuline, I believe, to approve item 5C. And I think I would like to ask that you add to that the recommendations that Ms. Yalkel gave us be attached to that and sent on to the City Council. I think that was Commissioner May's recommendation. Could we add that to your motion?
Well, one, I haven't read this, so I'm not sure I want to add that to the motion. I would be willing to add to the motion that we review this and provide this to our city planners and our city staff for their thoughts and guidance back to us off of this information, if that be appropriate, Mr. May.
Would that mean that we have to bring this back for a vote?
No, I would say that as part of this recommendation that we're talking about now, we have her first comments in the letter, as with the subcommittee's meetings. I could just reference that we received a new product from her that the city employees review for possible implementation at their level. I mean, I could make that recommendation. I'm not sure if I want to send something to the city council, because this isn't going to city council. We're approving it and it's done. So if Mr. May's fine with that. This recommendation that we just make it as part of the record based upon her input, and that I would just recommend that the city planners review it and pull whatever information that they can to make life safer for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's another approach. I thought that this was all going to City Council
No.
for their review.
No, once it's-
What does the City Council get?
Once Travel Commission approves this, it's approved. It doesn't go on to City Council pursuant to
The
ordinance.
city council did the plan, and we recommended to the city council to approve the
They
plan
do
back in
not-
2008. But as far as the traveling routes, that's up to our...
They don't get her original letter either? That was attached to it?
I'm sorry.
Concern?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more?
Does the City Council get the original letter that was attached to the plan that
No.
we're seeing now?
No. Once this is approved, it's approved. This isn't going on to City Council at all.
Is there a way to let them know that there was input by her, and that if they're interested, they can get a copy of
meeting
it?
minutes. It'll be in our meeting minutes, and you can let your Ward 8 councilman know. I mean, I
She
would...
could,
If they're interested, they can request a copy of it. That's what make information available. Why hold it back?
and Ms. Yalkel could also attend the comments from citizens at City Council.
Good point.
Okay. Then I will restate the motion. We won't mention that part of it, and we'll let Mrs. Yalko take that forward from here. You have a motion to approve this as presented by staff.
Right, and it's a matter of record that she spoke and she presented to us.
It'll be a matter of record, but it will not be a part
Right,
of
of course.
this.
Yeah, I think so.
Further discussion, comments? If not, I'd ask for your votes, please. Okay. Item number 5C is approved. D, the applicant is David Silver, 1234 Northwest 30th Street, Oklahoma City, 73118. consider a request to establish a no parking anytime restriction on both sides of Northwest Grand Boulevard from the south property boundary of 3356 Northwest Grand Boulevard to the south end of the Northwest Grand Boulevard cul-de-sac. David Silver?
Yes.
Could you state your name and address, please?
David Silver, 1234 Northwest 30th, Oklahoma City.
Is there anything you wish to add to this?
No, I just wanted to express the reason we're asking for this is because that street is approximately 24 feet wide, and there's a lot of senior citizens that get IMSA care, fire care when they come, and we're having a problem with parking inside the condominium property. When we enforced our bylaws about the parking where people are supposed to use their garages for parking, they all started parking out in the street, out in front of the property. So that's when we now are asking for some kind of a no parking zone out there. That's the situation.
Thank you. Staff summary, please.
Mr. David Silver, representing the Grand Point Homeowners Association, has submitted a request for a no parking anytime restriction on both sides of the Northwest Grand Boulevard cul-de-sac at the end of this dead-end street. Mr. Silver has provided a petition meeting the Commission's canvas area requirements, indicating neighborhood support of the request from the petitionable representatives. Mr. Silver is requesting the restriction in order to improve emergency vehicle access to the condominiums by preventing vehicles from being parked outside the condominium's gated entrance in the cul-de-sac. Staff recommends approval of the request as submitted.
Do I have a motion on
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Witcher, to approve item 5D. Further discussion?
Silver, to understand that in this map, where all the addresses are, that's the condominium, right? And so the folks who are, I guess, instead of parking in their driveways, they're parking on the street? Is that what you're...
So they're parking in their garages. Every unit has a two-car garage. They're filling them up with storage, parking out on the...
And these are the folks in this condominium development that are parking out on the cul-de-sac?
That's right. There are only two homes that are next to the condominium property. And
yeah, that's what I was confused about.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of them that still lives in the home, he signed our petition. The other one's a vacant home and hasn't been occupied.
And to the south or southwest of the cul-de-sac, what is that property?
So I put it back up there and I can... South and west is the highway, is a Lake Hefner Park.
But just south of the cul-de-sac there?
It's a green belt.
Okay, it's not...
Grand Point took it to Oklahoma Beautiful. They take care of it. It's just a field.
It's
between the wall of the highway and the wall of our property.
It's not a park?
No, it's just a private... Well, it's actually owned by the city, but it's we took it upon ourselves to maintain it.
Okay.
It's not used for anything.
Further discussion or questions? Are you contemplating? Okay. Okay. I have a motion to approve 5D by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Witcher. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. Item 5E, the applicant is Marilyn Hanson, Mayfair Heights Neighborhood Association, 2847 Northwest 47th Street, Oklahoma City, 73112. The request is to consider a request to establish a no parking anytime restriction on the north side of Northwest 47th Street from the east property line of 2809 Northwest 47th Street to the west curb line of Stinson Drive. Ms. Hanson?
My name is Marilyn Hanson, and I live at 2824 Northwest 47th Street, and I'm representing the Mayfair Heights Neighborhood Association. The only thing that I have to present, other than what I have presented to Mr. Chai, I presented him a letter explaining in more detail the reason for this, and there is a light at Northwest 47th and May Avenue, and it's the most direct street, the only direct street down to the school that's on Lynn. So all the traffic, all the school people from on the west side of May Avenue come down Northwest 47th to go back and forth to the school. 47th, like all the older neighborhood streets, are very narrow. There's only two streets you can pass, one this way and one this way. That's it. And as I explained in my letter, at Stinson, on both sides of Stinson, from Northwest 50th down to Northwest 47th, there are apartment buildings. These apartment buildings have parking in the back of them and also on one side of Stinson. But some of the neighbors on that last, there's 4 apartments in each building, at Northwest 47th, have a tendency to park. They're at the corner of Stinson on Northwest 47th Street, and then they just run up the lawn and go in the front of the apartment instead of parking in the back. The apartment owner, I've contacted him about it. It's Dr. Chaudray, and he said they're not supposed to park on any of the residential streets. And he said they were parking on both sides of Stinson, and we got no parking signs approved by the planning department to put no parking on one side of Stinson, so they can only park on one side now. So he said, I'm afraid you're just going to have to go to the traffic commission and get a sign put up there. It's the only way we're going to stop them. And in this letter that I sent to Mr. Chai, I wrote on here, the apartment owner agrees the only way to stop it is a sign. He said the tenants are advised not to park on any of the residential streets. They have parking in the back of the apartments on both sides, as well as on one side of Stinson. I took this letter to Dr. Chaudray, and he signed this letter to verify he approves of this. And that's the only other thing I have, except I did have a picture of 2 cars parked there, and the school buses come down there and stop at that corner and pick up all the children in the surrounding area. That's another bad thing about it. So I just brought these 2 substantiating things just in case it was needed. And everybody that I took the petition to said, oh yes, let's get something done about that. I'm glad you're doing this. Let's get something done about that. So that's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Do I have a motion on 5E?
I'll make a motion for approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Clayton, to approve item 5E. Further discussion?
Well, I have just one question, ma'am. If you could come back up to the podium. Sorry. So you don't think, so you've already done no parking on one side of Stinson to kind of alleviate some of the...
Well, Stinson is where the apartments are.
Right.
We don't want them to park on Northwest 47th where the houses are.
Well, I know, I'm getting to that. So,
Okay.
But, you don't think they're just going to... You think if you limit the parking there around the apartment, they won't push them down farther?
Toward the houses, no. It wouldn't be convenient for them to come further up to where the houses start, because at the west end of the apartment property, there is a house there.
Right.
But that wouldn't be convenient for them to get into the apartments to park clear up there.
Okay, so it'd be just as easy to go park where they're supposed to?
Where they're supposed to park, yes.
Okay.
See, it's real easy for them to park real close to that corner there at Stinson, where the front of the apartment is, to park there and walk over the grass and go into the front of the apartment, instead of parking either on the other side of Stinson or in back of the apartments where the apartment has parking. And they have entrances into the apartment from the back where the parking is.
Great. Okay, that's all. That's all. Thank you.
Further comments or questions? I have a motion by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Clayton, to approve item 5E. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Thank you. I have a request to strike item 5F.
I'll move to strike that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Witcher, seconded by Commissioner Martin, to strike item 5F. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. I should say that that motion to strike came from the applicant, Robert Henry. Item 5G, the applicant is Mike Bailey, Car Doctor, Inc., 410 Southwest 6th Street, Oklahoma City, 73109. The request is to consider a request to change Southwest 6th Street between South Walker Avenue and South Hudson Avenue from a westbound one-way street to a two-way street.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Bailey?
Thank you. My name is Mike Bailey. I own Car Doctor at 410 Southwest 6th, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I live at 2231 Northwest 22nd, Oklahoma City. This has come about due to all the construction traffic that's going back and forth between the post office and the highway construction, as well as the future of the construction work that's going to be going towards that park. We've already experienced, I can count 10 near misses. There's been several accidents at the corner of Hudson and Southwest 6th due to the traffic coming from Walker towards Hudson. What happens is they realize about 100 foot into it they're going the wrong way, so they floorboard it. So now it's a drag strip going the wrong direction. I have contacted both the Will Rogers Police as well as the Bricktown. Both have deferred to each other. Nobody wants to. We've tried so hard to get police down there to monitor it, but basically we're giving up on that. Now we're going to let's try to get the safety part of it solved. We're really the only business on the block anymore. We've had the postal inspectors leave. On the far end of the block, we've got Quality, or I guess they're dry cleaners, but they're actually facing Walker. So I've contacted those business owners. They all agree that yes, that would be an ideal two-way street. It is two-way west of Walker. So really, I understand when the post office was there, that was a directive, for the drop boxes to come down and just shoot back to Walker. Well, with that being gone, now the problem is they're going east on 6th, and then when they hit Hudson, they're going north on Hudson. So it's really becoming a safety issue, and we'd just like to ask the commission to let's go ahead and solve this safety issue and make this a two-way street.
Could I have staff summary, please?
Mr. Mike Bailey, representing Car Doctor, has requested conversion of Southwest 6th Street from a westbound one-way street to a two-way street between Walker and Hudson. Mr. Bailey is requesting that this one-block-long portion be converted back to a two-way street to improve access for the businesses on Southwest 6th and is a local safety improvement. Southwest 6th Street between Walker and Hudson was converted to a one-way street on May 19, 1980 as part of the same action which made South Walker Avenue and a one-way street northbound from Southwest 3rd to Robert S. Kerr. The reason for the conversion of Southwest 6th Street was not included in the minutes from that meeting. Southwest 6 is a 30-foot wide asphalt roadway with gutter, and it's marked as a 3-lane road. The average weekday traffic volume on Southwest 6 is 179 vehicles per day. The available decision site distance at South Hudson Avenue and Southwest 6 exceeds the city's minimum decision site distance. Based on review of South Hudson Avenue and Southwest 6th Street intersection, with respect to decision site distance and in recognition of the low traffic volume, staff can recommend approval of the request as submitted. Should the Traffic and Transportation Commission approve the request, staff recommends the removal of the Do Not Enter signs at South Walker, install eastbound stop signs at Southwest 6th and Hudson, and install a double yellow center line on Southwest 6th.
Do I have a motion on 5G?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept recommendation, including the 3 items listed by the Commission staff.
I second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins, to approve 5G with the recommendations from the staff. Further discussion? Comments?
I'd like to ask Mr. Bailey if you've looked at those 3 suggested changes made by the Traffic and Transportation Department, and do you agree with them?
Absolutely, yeah. And if I can reiterate those, my understanding was take down the no entry signs, install 1 stop sign, double stripe the street, and remove the one-way lights. Was that, or the signs? Okay, that's
Install a double yellow line, center line on Southwest 6th.
that's perfect.
You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? I have a motion by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for bringing that to our attention. (5H), the applicant is Lester Rinke, President, Redeemer Lutheran Church, 1524 Northeast Grand Boulevard, Oklahoma City, 73117. The request is to consider a request to remove the no parking anytime restriction on the east side of Northeast Grand Boulevard, Interstate 35 Service Road, from Northeast 16th Street to a point approximately 500 feet south of the south curb line of Northeast 16th Street. Mr. Rinke?
Good afternoon. My name is Lester Rinke. I live at 2301 Northwest 26, and I'm representing Redeemer Lutheran Church, 1524 Northeast Grand. Excuse me. Our church, as you can see from the illustration, is right next to Interstate 35, and the access road Northeast Grand Boulevard goes along the interstate. So our church is between the nursing center, the Edwards Redeemer Nursing Center, and the park. I understand that no parking signs were put there because of the fishermen at the lake after the development of Edwards Lake down at the bottom of the hill. So one Sunday morning we came to church and no parking anywhere along the street. Now we have a very small parking lot that will accommodate maybe 24 cars. That's enough for our Sunday morning worship service. But we had a wedding a few months ago and there was no place to park once the parking lot was full. So the request was to remove the no parking anytime signs near the church. Realistically, the only time that anybody would park there was Sunday morning for about 2 hours, and in the event we had a funeral, a wedding, or some other large event for the congregation. So that's the request.
Thank you. Could I have staff summary, please?
Mr. Rinke, President of Redeemer Lutheran Church, has requested the removal of no parking anytime restriction on North Grand Boulevard in order to address parking needs at Redeemer Lutheran Church. In his request, Mr. Rinke notes that during weddings and funerals and other gatherings, the demand for parking often exceeds the capacity of the church's lot. The no parking anytime was requested by the Oklahoma City Police Department to address safety issues related to cars parked on Northeast Grand Boulevard between Northeast 10th Street and 16th Street, in the vicinity of Edwards Park. As requested, the amendment to the existing parking restrictions will retain the parking restriction adjacent to Edwards Park back to Northeast 10th Street. If approved, the closest on-street parking to Edwards Park would be 200 feet to the north of Northeast 14th Street. The requested amendment will make approximately 176 feet of on-street parallel parking available, which excludes driveway approaches and required parking setback from traffic control signs. Based on a typical parallel parking space length of 22 feet, the amended restriction will turn just enough street frontage on North Grand Boulevard for 8 parking spaces. The requested amendment will change the limits of the current parking restriction to allow parking on Northeast Grand Boulevard from a point starting on the north side of the driveway to the church's parking lot to a point 30 feet to the south of the existing stop sign on North Grand Boulevard at Northeast 16th. Staff recommends approval of the request as submitted.
Do I have a motion on 5H? Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Clayton and seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. Further discussion? Comments? I have a motion to approve item 5H as presented by Commissioner Clayton, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renke. Item 6 is the comments from citizens, and the last 2 just left. So that takes us to item 7, reports from and other items from traffic commissioners, traffic commission committees, staff, and municipal counselor's office. We'll start with the commissioners. Commissioner Richer.
I have nothing to report this month.
Commissioner Martin. No report. Commissioner Kula.
No, sir, thank you.
Commissioner Hale. I got it right this time.
Thank you. Nothing to report.
Commissioner Schuline.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Well, I just have one concern. We've talked about the bicycle routes and so forth, and we've talked about educating the bicyclists. But we're talking about formal groups of people that we would be advising. But there are so many people who ride bicycles who do not belong to groups, etc. And I don't know how we can address those. Saturday afternoon, 3 teenage boys riding bicycles. They come down Martin Luther King, make a right turn onto Grand Boulevard, and just stop. And I thought, now how do we inform them that they have some responsibility? So that's my concern as to how we can educate the public. Because if you don't belong to a group, you don't get these instructions.
Well, and I understand your concerns, and especially with adults that ride bicycles is one issue, but children or youth that ride bicycles may not be aware of their responsibilities as well. So hopefully some public education, maybe the schools. I don't know, but there's got to be an avenue we can use to educate the cycling public, all ages. Thank you. Commissioner May.
On the bicycle issue, I was thinking about what you would say, and one of the things that could happen is that any time that a business sells a vehicle, a bicycle in this case, that they're given a website that they need to go to read the rules of the road. So if there's something given out at the time somebody buys the vehicle, the bike, there'll be 3, 5, 7 parents can read. They need to know that there are rules to go by. And maybe that's another way to get the information out rather than asking for people to come in, because I've got a 5-year-old and they're riding a bike, I'm probably not going to have that 5-year-old at any of your meetings. But if I've got a website to go to, I can read about it a little bit. And it's cheap. It's free, but just get your vendors, whoever sell these bicycles, to give out that information at time of sale. Second thing, this may be my last meeting representing Ward 8 for sure, because I haven't been officially informed of it yet, but since the redistricting went on, I live in a new ward effective October 1st. So I may not be here to share this wonderful camaraderie after this point in time. That doesn't mean I won't show up, maybe even next month. But,
Is that a threat or a promise?
no, that's it depends on how you want to take it. No. So it's been a privilege and a pleasure to serve with you all, if this is the last meeting. And the other thing is that, we're here for the public of Oklahoma City. And if we can do anything to improve things for the public, we're a lot farther ahead. I see two things that we need to really work on, not just that we're lacking, but something that's priorities, and be roads and transportation. Because our city is so big, it needs good roads. It needs good roads for bicyclists, for people driving vehicles, whether it be an automobile, truck, or whatever. And it needs good transportation. One of the things that I really wanted to do, and I got to serve on the taxi and transportation committee for purposes of how can we improve that area, is because the only public transportation we really have are buses, and those are limited as to who they serve in this community, unless you want to get in your car and drive to the bus line and get on, and that you're still using your automobile. And so taxis are a great alternative to that, and I think that's one thing we have to start pushing, is that we can't be everything to everybody, but what we can do is make things convenient transportation-wise to people who live here if they need help to get to a hospital, grocery shopping, whatever. So I think if we stress that and push that, the whole community would be benefited by it. Thanks, and enjoyed your camaraderie and your fellowship. And whenever we disagree, we weren't disagreeable, and that's the important thing. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it. After 7 years, and I had already informed my councilman earlier this year that I was not up for reappointment. My term ended next year, and it's after 7 years now, but 8 years then, if that were to occur, then that would be enough as far as I'm concerned, and not enough from the point of view that I'm tired of it, but I think that there's got to be a changeover of new thoughts, new ideas, and new representation from our constituency. That's important. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. Commissioner Clayton. Thanks for filling in for Stuart. He had some health issues today. He'll be back next month. Jill? Officer Tompkins?
Nothing.
With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, well, I'm sorry, but one more thing. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Hale on board, and we're looking forward to working with you. And if you have any questions, you can contact any of us or Stuart Chai from staff. He'll be glad to bring you up to speed as quickly as possible. That seat's been vacant way too long.
You can contact me too. I know all the good stuff.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.